Welcome to the Jazz Piano School podcast, where we have one mission, that is to help as many interested people around the world learn and improve at jazz piano by providing structured and organized jazz piano education. My name is Brendan Lowe. Thank you so much for joining me on this YouTube podcast video lesson. If you're looking for the full audio version, go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast, or you can go to iTunes to check out our podcasts as well. If you're new to Jazz Piano School or you've just found this podcast, definitely go to jazzpianoschool.com. Check out our free blog, our free podcast, free lick of the day, and a lot of other free transcriptions and resources we have to offer on the website as well. So with that being said, let's dive right into this episode. So again, like I said, theory is freedom and structure is freedom. And again, freedom is theory and structure. So the first thing that I'm going to go over is theory helps you understand just piano in general. It helps you understand harmony, right? And if I go to play a chord, for example, a G minor 7, the more theory you know, the many different ways you can play it, right? If you just know your theory for a root position chord, you're probably going to play this, right? If you just know your theory for root position and inversions, you may play this. And again, in Jazz Piano School, and the members, I forget which person it was, but they just recently said like, oh, you know, I don't know, I didn't think about this before, but I started playing my inversions like while playing Autumn Leaves, right? So instead of playing this, right, they started playing this, right? And then voice leading through their inversions. Okay, now without that theory knowledge, because they actually had reached that point in the Jazz Piano School main curriculum, without that knowledge, they would never have learned how to do that. And so taking them sequentially through these types of things helps them learn and understand what's possible, right? Rather than just exploring. I mean, they could explore on their own, playing different random notes, different chords, but would they ever find exactly what they're looking for? Probably not. You know, you need a guide. You need a teacher to help you along through those steps, right? To bring you through those steps. So again, back to the G minor chord, right? So I'm understanding harmony here, right? I know what my minor 7th chord is. I know what my dominant 7th chord is. Now, when I go to play a tune, when I know these chords, when I know what I can do with these chords, I may not just play a root position anymore, right? Again, the more theory I know, I'm just going to understand how harmony works between everything. So I know that I can put my chord in my right hand and maybe play a bass note down here. That creates a much richer sound. Maybe I do this, right? Or maybe I do this. These types of different sounds are all based off of theory. So again, one of the most important and powerful things that theory creates is freedom in harmony, right? Freedom in the tune. And again, a lot of these are going to be interwoven, interconnected. And based off of, different things like 2-5-1s and stuff like that, harmony is going to be connected as well. So if I have a 5-to-1 progression, maybe from F to B flat, right? I know that's somewhat of a resolution, right? So when I'm soloing or I'm comping or I'm playing, I'm going to feel that release of tension. I'm going to feel that resolution, whether I add in some extensions, whether I don't, I just play more of a neutral chord, right? I know that is giving me a tension and release chord, right? It's a 5-to-1 resolution. So I know that's kind of, in my body, in the music, I know it's a release, right? We're going to that 1 major 7, that tonic chord, and it's releasing. So again, understanding how harmony works through tunes is going to be super, super important. And the more you know about that, the more you're going to be able to play through the tunes efficiently and well, and just understand the inner workings of all tunes, okay? Now, I know that was kind of a general point there, number one. Now, number two is going to be the relationship between chords, scales, and notes. And so many people ask, why do we need modes? Why do we need scales, right? Scales and chords relate to each other. If I take a chord like this, it has different notes that you can use, a scale, right, that relate to these notes. If I play the G flat major scale, that doesn't necessarily correlate in any sort of fashion to my C minor chord, right? So let's say I'm going to improvise, right? And I were to use the G flat major scale using the notes from the G flat major scale. That sounds terrible, right? That's not going to help you with jazz. Now, if I didn't know what I don't know, right? If you don't know that G flat does not relate to C minor 7, you may start playing these notes. And you probably are right now. If you're more of a beginner intermediate player, you may be playing notes that does not connect to the chord. And that's why your playing does not sound the way you want it to sound. It's a very, very simple process that people, for some reason, they have false beliefs about modes because it just needs to be presented in a way that's going to be helpful for you, right? If you just present like, oh, okay, here's all your modes, just practice them. You need to know the why. That's what all I'm about too, because I never was taught the why. People would just say, do this, or rarely they would actually say, do this. They would just kind of show me stuff. I never got practice items, but again, knowing that the G flat major scale is not connected. Now, if I were to teach you the C minor Dorian scale, right, all of those notes are going to work with my C minor 7 chord, and that's just one scale, obviously, that relates to that chord. Now, my knowledge of this scale and the fact that it actually relates is going to allow me to improvise. It's going to allow me to do a lot of things, okay, besides improvisation, right? You know, I'm just using notes from the Dorian mode right there. Now, people are like, well, why do you need to know the Dorian mode? I just showed you, right? If you don't know those notes, you're not going to be able to create that sound I created, right? And so you may be playing an F sharp, which may sound cool. Now, that F sharp actually is a very nice sound, and I actually use it as more of kind of a diminished major sound, right? But that's not my point here. But the more theory you know about how chords and scales, it's not necessarily a point to just know your scales, right? You need to know how they connect to your chords, because chords and scales and notes, they all have a relationship. They have a relationship. Just like if I were to play a 2-5-1 and say I play C7, right? And if I play, for example, my G flat Lydian, and I play that over my C7 chord, right? That's going to give me a certain type of sound, right? There's different types of sounds you're going to get over, right, certain chords. So if I have my C7, right, that's giving me a certain type of sound, okay? Now, I have certain extensions that I'm using, right? And again, you can think of things in different ways. I'm not going to go all into that, right? But obviously we had our sharp 11, our flat 13, flat 7, 1, flat 9, sharp 9, 3, and sharp 11 again, right? So again, that's creating more of an altered sound, but the way I was thinking about it was G flat Lydian. Now you can just learn your altered scales, which I recommend as well. That's another step up in our theory process, right? Just learning your altered scales. Now when I get to a C7 chord, I have more knowledge, I have more power to create freedom in my playing, just like learning a language, right? You know, I can do whatever I want with that altered scale. You know, so it's amazing. Like learning your theory for your relationships between your chords and scales is going to give you infinite amount of options and ways you can kind of use that power. That's why it's so important to dive into that and learn in a proper sequence, you know, that JPS provides, obviously, in a sequential manner that's going to build you up and teach you all these different things, because otherwise you're just playing the same thing over and over again. Like you may be playing Autumn Leaves and trying to solo and just playing, you know, the chord tones. You know, stuff like that, or whatever. However it is, but the more you know, the better you're going to be. The more theory you know, the better you're going to be, okay? I got a garbage truck outside right now, so sorry about that if you hear that beeping sound. Now, number 3 is theory is going to allow you to understand why things sound the way they do, right? If I play this, that's obviously going to sound different than this, right? It's a completely different sound. And then this. Right? It's all different. Now, again, my knowledge of theory down here, okay, And because I know the C minor 7 chord, I know the root, I know the shells of the chord, and I know the extensions that fit with it, I can basically do whatever I want. I mean, I could play this as my C minor 7. Like, look at this chord. If I put in my bass note down here, anything is possible. That's a C minor 7 chord. Like, look at this chord. I'm playing all. You know, at this point, when you get to this level too, by knowledge of theory, or when you get to this level, your knowledge of theory, it starts to just kind of vanish away. It's more about shapes and colors because the knowledge clicks in immediately. This is how it brings you to freedom, right? So I know any of these notes work for my chord. I know what kind of colors they're going to give me. I know what sounds they're going to give me. I know what sound the 13 is going to give me over a C minor 7. Right? I know what kind of sound the 11 is going to give me over a C minor 7. You know, I know what a thick texture sounds like. I know what a thin, spread out texture sounds like. Right? Like this. Or maybe that. Okay? Right? So, again, all these different things, when learning theory, it works up to this. Or at least the way that I teach brings you up the sequential order, right? Instead of just showing you this voicing, okay, we're bringing you up a ladder. Okay, we're bringing you up level by level. You know, if you're playing Nintendo, you're not going to start at level 8, right? Super Mario. It's like, no way, right? You can't get there. You have to go through all the other stuff before you get there, and you can actually have the skill set to beat it, right? So when we develop the skill set and taking you step by step through your minor 7, taking you through the different voices you can use, the structures, 1 and 7, 1, 7, 3, 1, 3, 7, you know, the different extensions you can add on top. Then finally, just talking to you about different shapes and colors, then you have freedom because you've gone through the theory and structure, right? You have freedom at your disposal. You can do whatever you want with that C minor 7 chord, and obviously with all minor 7 chords, right? You can do whatever you want. Oops, I used the major 7 card, sorry. Whoops. I'm just playing random voicings with random minor 7 chords right here. That's all I'm doing. I'm just literally taking random minor 7 chords and playing random notes that I know fit in the chord and I know all the extensions for, right? In different sort of shapes and colors. You know, whatever you want. That's complete freedom over minor 7 chords. Now, obviously, when you get to dominant chords, you have all these different types of chords and harmonies. That's the point you want to get up to. In theory, learning the theory for all of that, you know, you may be asking yourself, well, Brendan, how do I do that? Right? How do I learn all the theory to go through that? Well, I mean, I'm trying to teach you as much as possible through the podcast, but again, I'm just going to be completely honest. Jazz Piano School and our main curriculum teaches you everything you need to know. It gives you a step-by-step process that walks you through how to create freedom doing what I just did and bring you through the step-by-step sequential process. Now, again, you may ask yourself, how do I do that, right? Because maybe you're studying with a teacher or you've gone through books and it's not doing that. And you've basically answered your question. There's literally nothing out there that teaches you a sequential process to achieve freedom through structure, right? Using my theory sequences. Like Jazz Piano School is a standalone thing. There's really nothing out there with this same philosophy, opinion, and built out main curriculum. But that's number 3. I don't want to do too many plugs here. You're going to hate me. Number 4, excuse me, movements and progressions, right? So many people ask how to spice up their improv. How do I spice up my improv, right? If you're playing, I don't know, a blues. it's all based on theory. That's why we always start with theory and work through a theory sequence process, because my knowledge of all the chords, all the harmonies, and all the progressions and the reharms that I just played allows me to improvise over it. Now, if we take a simple 2-5-1 in the key of C, right? First of all, I know I can change my major 7 to a 6 chord, which I just did. I changed one note. Instead of this, played this, right? That automatically makes it a different sound, right? This sound instead of this sound. Right? I don't even have the third in there, okay? I could add the third though, right? Now, knowing my tritone, and I'm sure a lot of you know your tritone sub, right, allows me to do this. Play a D flat 7 going to my C major. Now, all this translates into my improv. If I can reharm a chord, I can do the same thing with my right hand and improvise over it, right? Sorry, I was adding my 2-5-1. So just D minor 7 to D flat, right? Okay, my notes fell down here. Hold on one sec. So using the any sort of reharm, you can, with your knowledge, you can do that in your right hand. If I know that I can play more of an altered sound or a half whole sound over my G7, that's an option for me too. Right? I might play a natural 13 here. Like this. Right? I might just play my altered scale, right? So I'm soloing. I may end on Lydian, right? I can end on my Lydian extension. Whatever it is, I could end on my diminished major and then resolve, right? Whatever it is. But my knowledge, the point here for number 4 is that your knowledge of your movements and progressions and all the reharms you can do, right, translates into things you can do to improvise, right? Right? You could do E flat minor, A flat, D, G, C. Right? You could just do A flat, G, D flat, C. You could do all your sus chords. You can do, again, like I said, your 2-5, you can go E flat, A flat, A flat, D flat, C. Whatever it is. You could do 2 full bars of it. Whatever it is. Now, again, I'm soloing, improvising over top of my theory knowledge. Without my theory knowledge, I would have no idea that I could do all of that stuff. Now, doing it is a different story. And again, when people say, like, people want to learn language, they want to learn bebop lines, I completely understand that. I think I'm going to work on a course about improv language, because we within jazz piano school, there's a lot of that, but people want a specific course on that. Completely understandable. But when you get to a certain point, you don't want to be regurgitating licks, right? You want to be, so everything I played was self-expression of notes. But I understand you need some content to base your stuff off of, which is completely understandable. But once you pass that, you surpass that, right? You get to a point where you're playing, your fingers are just going. When I was studying with Eric Reed, he was playing an album he just recorded, and he said, I love that part right there because my mind was not connected to my fingers. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, that's deep. Yeah, he said, my mind is not connected to my fingers there. He's like, my fingers were just playing what my heart and soul was expressing at the time. And he said his mind was removed from the process, like he wasn't thinking. And that's what you want to get to, is you want to get to a point where your freedom is so natural, your fingers are expressing without you choosing or thinking about the theory, but you have to start somewhere. That's why the theory structure, fast is slow, right? Slow is fast. You have to start with the theory structure. It's going to equate to freedom, okay? So all your movements, your reharms, all all these different types of things, right, are going to lead to sounds, textures you can improvise with over, right? That will give you just so many options. Okay, number 5 is balance of sound and voicings, okay? With your theory and structure, especially in solo piano, this comes up so much in solo piano, because in solo piano, we need to balance our tunes, right? If I were to take a tune like I Should Care, and let's say we played, right? So, sorry, there's some man. Oh my, it's going crazy out here right now. I got to stop recording these podcasts in the afternoon. It's like nuts outside. So that right there, right? That's just a simple version. Now, how do we balance out our chords? Well, we need to understand, like, we need to know the theory of the notes that we're playing and the balance of sounds. Okay, so we have 3 very, very important components for solo piano. We have bass note, we have shells, right? And then we have other extensions, or our fifth, which we can treat in different sort of manner in our melody, okay? So if I play a root position chord, I have my bass note, shells, and my fifth all in my left hand, and I have my melody in my right hand. Now, a very simple way to balance out your sound while playing melodies, solo piano, is to simply drop the root down to your left hand, the low end of the piano, take your melody and place your shells underneath your melody. Listen to the difference in that sound. Like, that's a $1,000 tip right there I just gave you, right? If you did this all the time, like, you would be instantaneously better, like by 100 times, okay? Like, this is no joke, guys. Listen to the difference between this sound. Oh my God. Right? Listen to this. It's just like, I'm not even making this up. Resolution. Right? So all I did there was I harmonized my shells of the chord underneath, and I doubled my shells. So here's my melody, here's my shells, right? Shells, melody, right? Shells, melody. And then there's no melody note on this chord, so all I did was resolve my shells, right? While holding my melody. Here's my A7. Shells. Now here I played my sus chord because the melody note is a sus note, right? So I'm not going to do this. Okay, we want to create the same sound as our melody, which happens to be this sus 4. And then finally resolve. Right here I could just do this or double. Right, but my knowledge of how the root, the root, the shells, and the melody stack up, my theory knowledge about balance of sound and voicings allows me to create these spreads. Now, if I were to balance this even more, I probably wouldn't do this all the time, because my left hand has the ability to play more sounds. I'd play my 10th maybe. So I could give it this sound if I want. I'm adding some extensions here. Right, now I know my melody is the 7th, so I don't need anything else but this. Now, for people who can't reach the 10th, you can jump up. You can just do this. Sorry. And when you jump up, you can add in other notes that may be color notes. You can add the 9 and 11 if you want. Right? You don't have to. But because I know what these colors are going to sound like, I have a relationship with them, I can paint on my canvas, right? Right? Because I know what I can and cannot do with each chord, it gives me power to create movements and spreads and balance of voicings. That's going to be what you want to play. Like, that is what people want to play, right? Create these rich voicings. Now, what am I doing here? I'm just playing 1 and 10. And again, because I know my melody is the 7th, right? I know I have the freedom to do whatever I want with the rest of my hands, rest of my fingers, rather. Right? I can play a sus here. So the melody is this. So 1, 2. Now in the gaps, I also know I have power over the theory, right? So I can put my sus chord here, maybe resolve it to a flat 9, sharp 11. My my E minor 7, going to my A7. Sorry. Maybe do this or this. D minor 7, melody. Sus. Resolution, right? 1, 7, 3, 13, flat 9 extensions, right? So I have my structure down here, right? 1 and 7 and 3. I have my extensions up here stacked on top. 13, flat 9. Right? And then, so basically here, I made this a diminished major 7, then resolves it to a 6 chord with a 9 and the 5 on top. You know? So theory, I mean, your knowledge of theory allows you to do this. Now, how fast do you have to be at this? You have to be very fast, right? If I say, what's the 7th of a D minor 7 chord? You should be like C, right? What's the 13 of a B flat 7 chord? You should say G. What's the sharp 11 of an A7 chord? You should say D sharp, right? If I asked you these, that's how fast you need to know. Now, are you going to be able to do that immediately? Right? You're going to be able to pick out these extensions immediately? Like, are you going to pick out the thirds of all the chords immediately? No. Of course not, and I understand that, right? No one should expect you to do that. And basically, your skill and your, look at the way you're learning. Like, I want everyone to get better. And honestly, people think I'm an idiot because I say jazz piano is a simple process, and then they look at me like, yeah, right. You know, like you say that because you've been playing for so long. But you know what? I was in the same position as you. Like, I was guessing and doing all this stuff. I had no roadmap. And it wasn't until I started following a structured theory sequence plan, right, that is JPS, that I started to actually get better and make the improvement I wanted, because it was simple. All I did was follow the plan, right? When you follow a plan to learn the different steps, like learn your bass notes, learn your shells, learn your shell movements, right? Learn your voicings, learn the voicing structures that you have available, your drop twos, right? Your inversions. Okay, how your drop twos move. Okay, learn your solo piano system, right? Learn the six left-hand solo piano components that are necessary at all times, right? When you learn these things and go step by step, there's no way you can fail. There's no way you cannot get better. The thing is that people just don't have that plan. They don't have the teaching. They don't have the resources. No book is going to show you this, right? Most of the teachers out there don't have this plan for you either, right? And again, a lot of it too is because the student wants to get so good so quickly that they're not disciplined enough to actually follow a slow process. Like, if I just teach you this stuff, what I just showed you, people are like, show me how to play jazz. I'm like, okay, cool. You know, teachers will go like, here, play this. You know, then you learn how to play that. Maybe you read it off a transcription, and then you go to play a different tune. You know, maybe you play All the Things You Are, and then you go like this. And then you go back to play, I Should Care, and you do this. Is that a balanced learning curriculum to you? Just like, be honest, you know, are you actually learning anything when you do that? Or are you just copying, right? You want to get to a point where if you took All the Things You Are, you could play it the same way because you have the freedom, right? You know, you can do whatever you want over any tune. That's your goal. Freedom is your goal, not regurgitation of just one copy or one arrangement. Now, you know how I know this? Because I took lessons for so long, and then, you know, after 3 years of lessons, I could only play 3 tunes the same way my teacher played it. You know, I didn't have complete freedom over the jazz tunes, over harmonies, because I didn't know anything. Like, I hadn't been learning theory in a structured way that would equate to freedom. Okay, that's why I really am trying to give you guys some tough love today in this podcast to let you know this is so important. Like, learning these things are so important to get you to where you need to be. It's not rocket science here, guys, right? Like, I literally can show you exactly what you need to know. All you need to do is practice it, right? And again, a lot of the books do have these concepts in there, but they're just not sequentially ordered. So you have actually a roadmap that's bringing you step by step by step. It's more of like bits and pieces. You have to connect the dots yourself. Fortunately, with what I've created, I'm going to go step by step showing you the different areas, right? Now, the last thing is what I was just demonstrating. Number 6 is just the fact that the theory gives you complete freedom over any tune you want, right? So if you were to play... I'm just playing the chords of body and soul here. Right? My keyboard's stuck there. So anyway, it gives you complete freedom over any tune. You can do whatever you want. That's the freedom of that theory gives you, right? That structure gives you into any tune, into any process, into anything you play, right? You know, I can just play, right? I don't need to even have a tune. Again, composition and writing is a huge thing that I forgot to mention. Now I'm just listening and seeing where my ear is taking me. Oops, I didn't like that note, so I'm going to take that back. Maybe I want a lower and richer texture, right? You know, whatever it is. I completely made that up. You know, and it's all based off of theory. I mean, it's like, how do you create that? Well, you create it by knowing the different parts, components of how progressions move and work together and flow together, how the notes work together and flow together. Everything has a relationship, but you have to move through the learning education in a sequential process. Otherwise, you get bits and pieces and you have no idea how they connect. You have no idea how they relate to each other. And then you have random things that you play at random times and it just sounds like a mess, you know? So anyway, I hope this episode shed some light on all of this for you guys. And I wasn't teaching anything very, very instructional, like very specific, anything practical necessary that you can actually like go home and practice. A lot of the other episodes do that because I'm definitely about that. But this was more about just kind of helping you understand, like, get back to the basics, you know, get into your theory, have your teacher work through your theory components and like work you up level by level by level. Like stop jumping around from thing to thing to thing, from lick to lick, right? Stop chasing that gold nugget, right? That pearl. Don't be the Chinese dragon trying to always get that pearl. That's not going to get you to where you want to be. I'll tell you that right now from experience. I wasted thousands of dollars for 15 plus years taking private lessons with people, studying. I have every single book you could possibly imagine. I know like every single lick. I know like every, it's like when I, in all that stuff that I learned back then, I could play every lick. I knew almost like every Charlie Parker lick. I learned all these patterns and stuff like that. That never allowed me to create what I just created for you. Like, and what did I do? I created actual music. I wasn't playing patterns. I wasn't playing licks. I was self-expressing. I was creating beautiful music, Anyone can regurgitate patterns, that's just technique. That's not like true self-expression. It's not true music. It's not going to bring you that fulfillment in life that you get by really letting yourself out through the music. Okay, playing patterns is technical. It's boring, It's being a zombie. Please don't be The Walking Dead, okay? So, again, I hope this episode was enlightening for you, shed some light into a couple different areas, and I think we're going to get back into some more nitty-gritty practical things in next week's episode. So, hope you enjoyed that. Again, no practice exercise this week because we're going to be releasing some new free training courses that I'm going to tell you about how you can enter into them, get some free video trainings, and I'll tell you about those next week because we're going to release our first one next week. And yeah, that should be fun. So I'm looking forward to that. Hope you guys have a great day. Have a fantastic morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are, wherever you're listening in from. And as always, happy practicing.